Hello, and welcome to the Eve Echo Chamber. Today, another episode of Prove It on basic destroyers. The destroyers at Tier 3 that you can buy very cheaply before you get your training destroyer. Now, because we've already taken basic frigates so far, all the way up to small, medium, and even large 3s, we are only attempting small 5s with Mark III fit basic destroyers. In our case, that is the Coercer. Let's get started. As per usual, our fit follows the recommended fitting with the exception of no mid-slots. Basic destroyers have an additional weapon over our previous frigate and an additional low slot. The low slot is typically used for a damage amplifying mod. The Coercer has bonuses to both range and damage of its weapons, as well as a bonus to total armor. By now I'm sure you're familiar with armor tanking and shield tanking, but both of these types can be divided into two further types of tanking as well. Buffer tanking, that aims to tank just by having a lot of health, to kill the enemy before you get killed, and active tanking, that focuses on armor repairers and shield boosters. And ships that have bonuses to tanking typically have one of three different bonuses. Firstly, a percentage bonus to maximum of the armor or shield, like this Coercer has a percentage bonus to armor capacity. This kind of bonus is only useful for buffer tanking. The second bonus, a percentage boost to the amount repaired or boosted by a shield booster. This is only useful for active tanking. And the third bonus type, a percentage boost to resistances. This is useful for either kind of tanking. Lastly, let's talk about signature radius and signature tanking. This is why we've been favoring frigates up to this point, because when a small, fast-moving target is involved in the fight, they are very difficult to hit, and they take very little damage. This is due to their small signature radius. When reducing damage in this way, the important factors are signature radius, speed, and trajectory. This is why I've pointed out in my previous videos when you do things like loot a wreck, when an enemy spawns directly on top of you, and you are not moving either fast enough or at a steep enough trajectory, and you take massive amounts of damage very quickly. As ships get bigger and bigger, they usually get better bonuses and better base stats for their tanking stats to offset their blown up signature radius. Destroyers are in a unique position because they are still small enough where they don't receive most of those bonuses. This is supposed to be offset by their higher DPS and their massive bonuses to weapons. This is very useful in PvP and many other situations, but as far as these cosmic anomalies are concerned, they simply do not tank enough to be able to complete the anomalies efficiently. The bonuses of destroyers above the basic level, however, are strong enough for them to complete anomalies very well. If you have the trainer destroyer, or you move on to a higher tier, such as the Coercer Navy issue, you will have no problems doing small 5s. Assuming, of course, you've trained the relevant skills. But as you can see on screen right now, the Coercer's increased DPS, which is quite significant, is still not enough to offset the larger signature radius and lower speed. This forces me to warp out with the Coercer for the first time very shortly. Some general tips as we are waiting for that to happen. You noticed earlier in the video I set my autopilot destination. This is in case we have to panic. We can easily press the autopilot button to get out, much faster than it would take us to warp somewhere else. Remember not to do this if you have a criminal tag, because you will die. You also saw me check the weapon range of my guns and manually set my orbit, which I did do before I started this video, by the way. This is because of the Coercer's bonus to range. Even though we are using the same weapons we used on my other ships, we have to set the orbit for the increased range bonus. I'm using the Coercer as the example to keep it fair. It still benefits from all of my small laser skills, and I have very good destroyer skills as well, except for one skill, which I will show you later, but which is irrelevant because of the bonus that I explained. The Coercer does have a massive advantage over the other ships you've seen in capacitor capacity. I can run every module, and it can run for 17 minutes. But we have to consider this fact in context. Perma-running the repairer does not keep up with the damage we are taking. Due to our larger signature radius and lower speed, we take more damage from each attack, and our repper cannot keep up. A possible solution to this, and one way you might be able to shoehorn the Coercer into completing these sites, would be to fit more tank instead of more DPS, to replace the heatsink with something like a reactive armor hardener. And here, as the final wave approaches, I finally realize that I just cannot stay in the site. Let's dock up, repair, and give it another go. And now you will see me open up my character sheet, go to skills, and show you the one skill I am lacking. Destroyer defensive upgrade. But in the case of this ship, as I mentioned earlier, it only provides a bonus to total armor capacity. The problem we are experiencing in the site is not due to our total armor capacity, it's due to the ability of our armor repairer to keep up with the DPS we are taking. As I mentioned, the only solution would be to add another defensive module. The logical option would be to replace the heatsink, but then we are losing out on the DPS of a destroyer. The other possibility would be removing the afterburner, but don't remove the afterburner, that's just a terrible idea. And now we see a shortfall of EVE Echoes compared to EVE Online. In EVE Online, there's a system called bookmarks. You can right-click an object or a location in space, and you can save it as a bookmark. You see that there are many small 5 anomalies, and I don't know which one is mine, so I have to warp to multiple to try and find out. First one I go to, there's a stabber waiting for me. No thank you, sir, this is low sec. I run away right away. Luckily, he does not chase me. Remember, when you meet animals in the wild, they are just as afraid of you as you are of them. We try the second one, and it is also not mine, because this one has 3 enemies, and I have spawned the final wave in my site, which has 4 enemies. Let's try again. Finally, home sweet home. I'm repped up, I'm ready, let's do this. I'm perma-running the armor repairer and the afterburner, and look at the damage I'm taking. And that's where I gave up. You saw I didn't panic, I didn't hit my panic button. I stayed, I gave it my all, I tried to win it for you. But at this point, even if you do kill the rest of the enemies, it's not worth it. If anybody had warped in on that site, they could have one-shot me, no problem. So here I pointed out that dividing line. We're looking at the rows of 1 destroyer. This is tier 3. We're not looking at the rows of 3 destroyers above, which is tier 4. I know the tier 4s can do it, but the tier 3s cannot, and I'm showing you why. I just gave the X of nay to 2 destroyers because both of them just get a bonus to buffer tanking. Now, the Minmatar destroyer is the only one that I think might be able to do it, maybe? But my instinct is that that speed bonus is not enough to make it signature tank. You see the final destroyer gets the same bonus as the destroyer we just failed with. This is not the be-all, end-all answer. You can, of course, try to over-tank them, as I mentioned before, removing a damage mod. You can also try using the close-range weapons, if you'd prefer, though I think that would be much more dangerous. But in my opinion, I have successfully proved it. I validated the advice I gave you for progression before. That progression being basic tutorial frig until you can do small, medium, and large 3s. Continue to farm those until you either progress the advanced tutorial and get your trainer destroyer, or until you save up enough money and buy the second version of the tutorial frig. Thank you for watching. This has been the EVE Echo Chamber. Fly safe.